I'm going to try to familiarize you with a few of the things that you need. Oh man, I need to fix my hair. Yeah, I'm kidding. Come on. All right, I'm going to familiarize you with a few things that you're going to need. One, you need a place to set your vat. This is the 6-gallon fermentation vat. Now, we're going to go through everything to set it up, but that's it right there. You don't have to use a glass vat. You can use like a 5 or 6 gallon plastic tub. I highly recommend that you use a food grade plastic container. If you do, that's why I use glass. I like it because I can also see what's going on with my wash. You need to find a place. Let me switch the video around so you can see it. As I said, you got to find a place to put your vat. And I'm going to put mine here next to the washing machine. It's out of sight, out of mind in here. Somebody comes over and not seeing you ferment a whiskey wash or wine, or I don't know how to make all that stuff. But you got to make sure it's okay with the wife too. Wife, girlfriend, your significant other. You do not want to set something up like this because it's going to be there for about a month. So you just don't want to have that kind of an argument. So make sure they understand what you're doing before you get started. I'm going to go through a few things real quick, just so you understand what they are. This is a burper. Okay, it sits on top of the vat after you get your wash put together. And the carbon's going to come up through here. There's a water trap in here, and it makes it so that the carbon can come out, but nothing comes back in, because alcohol does have an enemy. And it will change your wine, if you're making wine, or into vinegar. You don't want that. Anyways, the next thing is to familiarize you with. Yes, I have a little kit because I've been doing this for years. I'm going to be using this Class 8 turbo yeast. It makes 20% alcohol by volume. That's important. Remember that. When you get through with that, you will want to use this. It's a 2-part turbo clarifier, turbo clear. Clears in 24 hours, which is super great because the clarifier that is normally I used was the only one I could find at the time. Was for wine. Well, the ones you use for wine actually take some time for it to settle the sediment in there down to the bottom so that you can pull the wine out and bottle it. Well, this makes it so that you can do it quicker. It says 24 hours, so let's hope that's true, because I've never used it before. It'll be a first for me, and it'll clear it all out, and then you can take and pull the wash out, and you're going to put it in a still. This is for most states, legal still to have. You can have this and not be against the law. It's a 1-gallon air still. My son bought it for me as a gift. I still use it from time to time. I haven't done this in a while, but I know it'll still work. This is a pot I use to cook potatoes in. Now, you don't want to boil them. I'll show you all this later. You do not want to boil them. You're just trying to sweat the sugar and stuff out of the potato so that you can put it in your vat, so that you can put together the yeast and the sugar so that the yeast will start to eat it. And once it starts eating the potatoes and the sugar from both of them, you'll start to produce alcohol. All right, once that's done, like I say, I already explained the other part. You got to clear it out and put it in the still. In the process of it, the wine, there's corking. I'll go through some of this within another video. You're going to want to age it, and that's what this vat's for. Ooh, the rain is coming down. This is an aging vat, or my aging vat. And I'm going to put these oak chips. There's smoky oak chips. They're specifically for brewing now. This isn't something that you just pick up somewhere. I've actually bought this for the specific purpose of brewing, and it came from the inside of an oak keg. Now, I don't have enough room in my apartment to have such a thing as an oak keg, so I have to improvise, and this is my improvisation. Now, I wish I had time to go through everything. There's bottle caps for making beer and hard cider. There's the device you'd use to put those on with. And the other thing that you're seeing there is for corks. These are corks that I would use to bottle wine with. I haven't done any of this in a long time. Anyways, that's the skinny of the gist of it. You have to keep everything clean. There's bottle brushes. You have to have a siphon tube to get the stuff out of there to put it into your still to distill the alcohol out of the wash, which again you'll put into this aging vat. You'll throw some chips in there. Be careful how much you put in there because a little goes a long ways. And then let it just sit. I'd set it on top of the refrigerator or something like that and just let it sit there. And I use this will work. Something like this, just to keep the dust and dirt and whatever out. And I plug it up and just let it sit there and do its thing. No, don't want to throw it. Some of these alcohol contents are pretty high when you're done. Well, I've had alcohol come out of it. Hang on a second. I've had alcohol come out at about 140%, or 140 proof, I should say. And there is a way that you can figure that out too. Give me a second. I got to remember where I put all my stuff. Let's see. I'll show you some more things here in a second, but you absolutely can tell how much alcohol you have from beginning to end, so you know exactly what's in there. You saw that here where the percentage on there was supposed to be 20% alcohol by volume. But I usually let it go until it stops bubbling on the top, you know, and the burper. When it stops bubbling, it's done. It's ready to be clarified and pulled out. But you have to have a couple of little devices to tell what you have. I'm only finding, there we go. I'll get this turned back around so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, talk to you in a minute. All right, this little doohickey, this jobber here, it's give me a second. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, that I'll tell you about in just a second. That's something that you're going to be using to test your alcohol. It'll float up and tell you what proof your finished product is. So, anyways, that's how you tell what your alcohol is, what you made. Anyways, we'll get into all that. I'll show you all the process. It's just going to take a little bit of time. That's why these videos are going to be in parts. Right now, I'm just going to go over some of the equipment and setting it up. All right, talk to you later. This is my test tube. This is where you can use to pull out a small amount. And let's see, you just put it to the bottom. It'll fill it up. Put your finger over and it'll trap enough in there. And then you can use it to pour in a glass to test it out, or just it's a little test deal for it. I use this to siphon out and put in here so I can test it with the hydrometers that I was showing you. So that's what that is. And again, I already went through some of this. This is my pot I use to cook the sugar down and to sweat the potatoes. I'll be going through all that. The still, I'll show you that more of that. Fermentation vat. aging vat. Okay, and use stainless steel because you need to sterilize everything. If you've ever made wine before, you know what I'm talking about. It has, like what I said, its own enemy. The enemy to a wine-based alcohol is the naturally occurring in the atmosphere bacteria that changed it to vinegar. So once again, science lesson number 2. If you've already been told you can make alcohol anytime you're making any baking products, basically you're making alcohol and you're just cooking it out whenever you bake. The other thing is, if you need vinegar, it's the opposite of the alkaline alcohol. It's an acid. The acid vinegar is created whenever this natural occurring bacteria gets down into it. That's why you use the burper. You don't want it to get back down in there because you're wanting wine. You're not wanting vinegar. And that's exactly what had happened to it and exactly what it'll do. It'll turn into a homemade vinegar. Anyways, back in a bit.